Dharma Stuff. Now, this may be my last apologia for a while, and I hope they're useful in clarifying my mistakes and pointing out also that we all make them. In those 30 years or so of practicing, as regards the results of, sitting meditation, apparently the only thing I accumulated was more Dharma toys. Now, in the beginning, I had no toys. I had no shrine, no statues, no mala, beads, no nothing. I had a little piece of paper with my Dharma name and a line drawing of the Buddha on it. That I got from taking refuge, which is a Buddhist ceremony. That was my shrine, and I placed it on a little shelf at eye level while I practiced sitting meditation. But while I sat there for 30 years or so, although I didn't accumulate any real meditation results, I did manage to accumulate an incredible amount of Dharma stuff. For example, I tried out every kind of cushion to find the one most comfortable for my rear end. I had cushions piled on cushions. I made ramp-like cushions out of graduated layers of carpet samples that I cut up. I had cushions stuffed with buckwheat hulls, cushions shaped like kidneys, rectangular cushions that cut off the circulation of my thighs, Zen cushions, called zafus, that we made ourselves, cushions stuffed with kapok, and the list just goes on. I could write a long article and have just about meditation cushions. And I finally did actually find the right kind of cushion. It turned out to be the kind of cushions that the Rinpoches used that I could have figured out a long time before. And also I had all kinds of little tables to set my sadhanas, my texts on, the texts that I was chanting or reading. And I had wooden tables especially made and painted for me by Tibetans. And then I designed tables and had them made. I even made a special mini spotlight installed on my ceiling with barn doors that placed a rectangle of light just on the area of text that I wanted it on while I sat on the floor below. I went through any number of ways to burn candles. I had special Chinese lotus lights that I could dim to where I wanted them. I had shawls for my shoulders, all kinds of them, ones from India, and ones that I measured and made myself. I built or had built small and large wooden shrines, one out of old 2-foot wide planks, 2-inch thick of cherry, others made of black walnut. And some were small and portables, while others were large and wide. Most were multi-tiered, the shrines, and held dozens of statues and Dharma items. I spared no expense. I then started a whole mail-order import business for Dharma items to help out our monastery, because at that time they could not handle shipping things to practitioners. I staffed and ran it for many years, and by way of that, I had a river of Dharma stuff flowing through our center, from which I could cherry-pick whatever I liked, and I liked. I had malas. Those are the 108-bead rosaries that Tibetan Buddhists use to count prayers and chant mantras with. I had malas made out of coral, of lapis lazuli, of crystal, of bodhi seeds, of lotus seeds, of sandalwood, and other woods, of amber, and all kinds of semi-precious stones, and the list just goes on. I had the small hand drums called damarus, and the larger chur drums. I had Native American drums, Irish drums, and a large Tibetan drum that could only be hung in a frame. I had hand cymbals, sets of cymbals, and large brass singing bowls. And of course I had the traditional vajra and bells used in Tibetan ritual practice, and I learned how to use them. There were brocades and gaus, and on and on and on. I even learned to read Tibetan script. And as part of our Dharma Goods project, I had translated and printed on fine paper with foil embossed covers many of the major practice texts of our lineage. Now, I could go on and on. I'm just trying to give you a feeling for it. I have not even described the dozens of fine statues of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and other Tibetan deities that I acquired, and so on. I had lockets and vials and packets of blessing pills, etc., and door mantras and door hangings and wall hangings, and enough already. And you know the punchline that's coming here. I was all dressed up Dharma style, but with nowhere to go, as in, I was not really learning what I needed to learn. And to be perfectly honest, aside from my inability to really learn to meditate, I did an awful lot of other practices, many of which were good for me, and did help to remove obscurations in my mind. So don't be put off by my sense of humor here with all the paraphernalia. I'm just laughing at myself. I guess I felt that I needed all that Dharma stuff to keep my hopes up of getting anywhere with my practice. And it did help, all that stuff. But it was no substitute for progress with authentic meditation. That's what I wanted. All the elaborate Tibetan Dharma items were just like the frosting on the cake. I had the frosting, but no cake. In other words, endlessly adding on to Dharma stuff did not guarantee learning for me Dharma meditation. It was just more stuff, but it was nice stuff. And while I still love and admire all that stuff, let's not confuse the baby with the bathwater. In America, at least for me, the Dharma came wrapped in Tibetan culture, and no one was interested or easily able to separate the one from the other, lest something be lost in translation, and I understand that. All of my Dharma practice has been done in Tibetan, because it was unclear what might be lost if we suddenly switched to English. And we didn't yet have any enlightened Americans to help us rewrite all of those practices in English. Such separation of what's Tibetan from what is universal Dharma, I believe, can only be done over time, as we as a culture become enlightened enough to distinguish one from the other. They tell me that it takes Buddhism about 300 years to enter a new country. Since we're not really even 100 years in yet, things are still a little murky in the baby in the bathwater department. When your teachers and the liberating teachings that they bring come wrapped in Tibetan cultures, something of the culture rubs off. We end up respecting the culture, perhaps overmuch, in which the precious Dharma appears to us. The Dharma has to do one of two things. It will either die out in this country, or it will grow and spread. Since it is essentially the truth of the mind itself, it's not about to die off or to go away anytime soon. So it seems it will continue to grow and spread, there being nothing more lasting or true than what it is. And it will outlast all of those meditation fads and whatnot. Being caught up in the flow of Dharma entering this country has been amazing. It's an eye-opening experience. Unlike most religions, which are dead set on converting everything to their faith, Buddhism isn't like that. And this is a remarkable aspect of Buddhism. Buddhism is so fair or good that it changes nothing of whatever original religion it finds when it becomes available in a new country. And this is totally clear from just looking at Tibet. The original Bon religion of Tibet was not stamped out, not removed. In fact, it remains today, like insects in amber, preserved perfectly in the Buddhism that flowed into Tibet. And how is that possible? It's possible because Buddhism actually fulfills other religions that it contacts. It answers their questions, often unspoken, the questions that exist in these religions. And Buddhism can exist side by side with other faiths because it complements and fulfills needs, and it doesn't oppose anything. It's pure Aikido. It's there to help, and it really does. So it will flow into this country and society, and exist side by side with whatever religion or spiritual practices we have now. Buddhism is really all about knowing the true nature of the mind and nothing more. It has no cosmogenesis. It has no original sin, actually no beginning, and it foresees no end. It doesn't even have a God. It's all about using our innate intelligence to free ourselves from obscurations and become more aware. That's not a bad thing. As for all my Dharma stuff, I'm going to turn what little knowledge of it I have to use and perhaps write some blogs here about how to use this stuff properly. I'm also working on a video that shows how to use the Tibetan malas for saying mantras. In fact, that's up somewhere.